Hey, church, welcome back to Zoom Chats with Mark. If you guys were here for last week's, well, let me back that up a little bit. Not last week's, but the last edition, I guess, of Zoom Chats. Wow. Can you guys tell it's late? It's tired. I need more coffee. But if you guys were here for the last Zoom chat with me, I was sitting down with Brandon Soche where we talked all about the worship ministry and some of the philosophy that went behind that. And I trust you guys enjoyed that conversation. I know some of you guys enjoyed it so much that you guys actually asked for more conversation. So we are doing that here tonight. So tonight, I'm actually sitting down with the one and only Aaron and Sara Taylor. So Aaron and Sara, how are you guys doing?
We're good. We're good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having us.
No, you bet. So did the kids go down okay for you guys tonight?
They did. Surprisingly, we tried to get them down earlier so that we ensured they were asleep for this and out. So yeah, they did well.
Good. No, Elliot came out for an hour. It was awful.
Oh gosh.
I tried to get him early. He just kept walking out and he was pulling every crap. Daddy, we forgot to pray. No, you liar. Get back in your bed. It's just awful. Absolutely awful. But anywho, so some people might not know you guys super well. So go ahead and introduce yourselves real quick and then we'll get into the reason why we're chatting tonight.
Sure. Well, we're the Taylors, Sara and Aaron. And we've been coming to Southside for about 4 years. I am involved in the toddler ministry there, and Aaron recently started. Do you want to talk?
Do you want to talk?
Recently started ushering, and yeah, we love our church family. A little bit, I guess, about us. We've been married for almost 9 years, and we have two kids, Elias and Eden. They're twins, and I guess that's kind of what we're going to talk about, share our story with you tonight. So
yeah, and if you don't know who the kids are, just look for the tank that's running around church, and you think he should be in the youth group, but he's only 5.
Yeah,
that's Elias.
5, and we just measured them the other day. How tall was he?
50.
52 inches,
51
or something. 52 inches, way over 4 feet and 90 pounds. Just So clearly, there's something that they're not genetically ours, right?
No, something doesn't make sense. They're blonde.
Yeah, true.
I think Eden looks like you a lot.
Yeah, and that's kind of the ironic part about our story is that we often get told that they do look like us. And they're not at all genetically related to us. So
tell us what you mean by they're not genetically related to you guys.
Well, so I guess you got to start from the beginning. I feel like.
Let's go.
Oh, and I could take over.
Uh-oh, we froze.
Everything started.
So you guys froze real quick. So start again. So start at the beginning. You said we'll start at the beginning.
So Aaron and I, we got married 2011, shortly after high school. We never prevented a pregnancy. We decided when the Lord was going to bless us with a baby, then so be it. It wasn't happening. And so then we kind of started trying to make it happen, and still wasn't happening. We eventually then just found out at a routine doctor appointment that there was, I guess didn't find out there. They referred us to a specialist, where then we found out that a genetic kid wasn't in the cards for us due to male factor infertility. We were missing that male genetic component. So from there, it was kind of what do we do? It was always our desire to have kids, and me specifically, just to be pregnant and give birth and all that, that the woman's body.
Yeah.
So then I'll let you kind of go on where we went from there.
Well, before you do that, if you don't mind me asking, what were the emotions that you guys kind of experienced when you guys found out you can't have your own kids?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind me asking.
I think it's important to note too, is that we were so young. I mean, we got married when I was 20 and Aaron was 21. So you don't anticipate having fertility troubles in your early 20s. And you especially don't anticipate it being male factor. Like that's kind of not really talked about. It's always a woman's issue and an issue of an older generation, and that's not true. So definitely, yeah, it was hard. Just, you kind of have to grieve, like you're not going to have that. Yeah, I mean, it took lots of prayer and lots of just reminding ourselves that God had a plan. It wasn't going to be a genetic child for us, but that there was something else for us. And I'd say the hardest part was being patient. I'm not a patient person. So that was really probably the hardest thing. Once we like heard the news of no genetic child and kind of accepted that, it wasn't so much hurtful in that sense. Like we kind of shifted our gears towards, okay, we want a family. It doesn't matter if it's of our genes. Like we'll be happy with any child. So
I feel like Sarah says it was like a long time, had to be patient. When I look back, I feel like it was quick. Like things were just laid out in the sense of like, I feel like the process was so fast of like,
I mean, it was pretty smooth.
What do we do next? And then things just coming up to pointing us in the direction that we needed to go. And so when I look back, I'm like, man, some people spend a long time in this like limbo area of trying to determine what to do. But for us, it just.
Yeah, God definitely laid the path and like the plan was set. The crazy part is, which I guess we'll talk about it more later, is that we got married in 2011. Elias and Eden were actually conceived in 2010. That's when their embryos were created. So they were
I didn't even realize that. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
They were created before we were even married. So like God knew the whole time. I just feel like that's super special.
Yeah, so before we get into Elias and Eden's story a little bit, did you guys look into pretty much every possible treatment that there would be or alternative?
I mean, there weren't so many options for us, like using our own genetic material.
There was one, a doctor out of California that I had talked to, and he was fairly confident that he could make things happen. But I was kind of set back because I'm like, at what price? I mean,
right.
How much do you want to spend when like there is so many other ways that we could make things happen?
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, all of this is a chance. Like any fertility procedure, you're paying on a chance. And I mean, obviously like God is the ultimate determiner and but like we're talking thousands of dollars. There's no coverage, like health coverage for infertility. There are only a few states that mandate insurance would cover these treatments. Indiana is not one of them. So everything that we would have done, we would be paying out of pocket. Wow. And it's just too much. So we didn't really explore like IVF, like the big thing.
In vitro
IVF.
Fertilization, right?
Yeah,
okay.
In vitro fertilization. Like that wasn't an option for us because we weren't willing to use a donor male component.
Okay. So that would be male sperm with your egg and then.
Correct.
Okay.
We wanted to like stay within our marriage bond, and anything that we did, we wanted it to be something that we would experience together. And so using like a donor sperm would not be that. So that wasn't an option. So it really came down to traditional adoption or international adoption. And then we found out about embryo adoption, which I had never heard of.
Yeah, so let's go down it. So tell us, what is embryo adoption?
Well, embryo adoption is, I mentioned in vitro fertilization, and that is the process of fertilizing a man's sperm and a woman's egg outside of the body in a fertility clinic. And then they would do an embryo transfer where they transfer that embryo back to the woman's uterus. A lot of times multiple embryos are created for the purpose of a genetic sibling in the future, or the possibility of your transfer not working and you need to do it again. So a lot of times you have remaining embryos. A family decides they're done building their family, and they can do three things. They can donate them to research. They can thaw these embryos that had been frozen, the remaining ones, and they can just let them die. Or they can donate them to other infertile couples. And so that is embryo adoption, when you're receiving someone else's fertilized embryos.
And so when you mentioned that Eden and Elias were actually fertilized back in 2010, which, I mean, that's when I graduated high school. That's actually kind of weird to think about, that they could be 10. Like that's, or they are, I guess technically they are 10.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So basically, they take the embryos and then they freeze them, which is because we hear you mention all the time about snowflakes. Like for both of you guys, snowflakes have a really precious spot in your heart because they're called snowflake babies.
Yeah.
So what was the process of you guys finding a donor, finding the kids, and then continuing on from there?
Do you want to talk? I feel like I talk a lot. Go
I can't remember.
Oh, goodness.
Well, we listed ourselves on a website. Basically, I call it like a match.com for embryos. And it's like,
fun.
It's called Miracles Waiting. And that's just the path we chose. You can go through an agency, like an embryo adoption agency. Nightlight Christian Adoptions, they actually have an embryo donation program or embryo adoption program. So you can also do it anonymously through a fertility clinic. We wanted an open relationship with our embryo donors, and we wanted to try to conserve costs. So we decided we were going to match privately. We were going to do all of the work on our own and find our own match. So we listed ourselves on that website. We talked to a few donors from that page. Nothing led to a match. We were kind of just looking for someone similar to us, someone that we would like click with and be able to just have a relationship that would allow us to have all the info we would want to give our kids when they were old enough to kind of know about their origins. We felt that was important for them to always know where they came from.
So you guys don't hide that from the kids at all?
No, we've been open from day one. We have little books, little photo books that we've made, kind of just explaining the process and what we went through. And they'll look at pictures of, like, we have a little photo of them as embryos, and they'll look at it and say, oh, look, it's us as embryos. Like, they know what an embryo is. And,
oh, that's cool.
So they're totally aware.
So if you don't mind me asking, I'm just going to put it on the table. The tattoo that's on your arm.
Oh, yeah.
People see that thing, and some people go, what the heck is on Sarah's arm?
Sure.
Is that the embryos?
Yeah. Yep. So I have the embryos tattooed on my arm. It's just super special to me. It's like their first picture. You can kind of see them there. And it's so true to what they looked like under the microscope. That's obviously they're microscopic in real life. The human eye can't see them. So that's under a microscope. But yeah, that was when we first met them at just 5 days after they were conceived, which who in the world like can say that they have that image of their kid? Not many people.
Like that's insane. Like I just remember like Elliot and Evie, it's like, the first image is the ultrasound where it's like, that's actually a baby.
Sure. Yeah.
Like it doesn't look like a little nut. Like it's actually like a thing with a head.
Yeah.
So you guys eventually obviously found a donor. You found a donor family, and you guys were able to receive those embryos. So when they did the transfer into you, Sarah, was that kind of a sure shot that you were going to guarantee be pregnant and carry both of them to term?
No. Um, so the thing is, like, embryo day comes, okay? You've prepped your body for a month, like prior. You're taking injectable hormones and oral hormones. You're doing
Oh,
lots
so
of
it's like a crazy process.
Yeah, yeah. Not as crazy as an in vitro fertilization cycle where they actually have to like retrieve your eggs and whatnot. But
And obviously, Aaron, you just enjoy the time. You didn't have
yeah,
to prep your body. You were good.
yeah.
I just injected him.
He did have to give the shots.
Oh.
So.
Oh, now that is what we call couple bonding right there.
Yeah, once a night. So that was always fun.
For a month?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, no, longer than a month because you need to continue those once you are achieve a pregnancy. You have to continue them for, I think, until week 16 to sustain the pregnancy. So it was for some time that I had to yeah.
Wow. I never knew that part.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that. Man.
Yeah. It never got easier.
I could imagine. But so when they implant you, you take the hormones and then just hope for the best?
Yeah, yeah. We had a 32% chance that we would conceive, and not necessarily twins, just that we would conceive at all. So the fact that, I guess the other thing to note too is that the embryos, when they thaw them, they can actually die in that thawing process. Like, you're not guaranteed that they're going to thaw and still be thriving. So the fact that Elias and Eden both survived the thawing process, both survived the transfer, like they both stuck. It was just pretty miraculous on our first
That is a miracle. Wow.
Yeah, we were really, really grateful for that. So many people try so many times. So we were very fortunate.
So if you don't mind me asking, what has life been like since having the kids? I mean, obviously, like, there's the story's still being written, but like after you guys found the donor, you guys had Eden and Elias, was that it? Or do you guys still have a relationship with the donor family?
Yeah, we do. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Like how we...
It's up to you.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know what to start with.
Just what do we, I mean, what do we do?
I mean, so at first the donors themselves were actually kind of closed off. They wanted to kind of close it. Why would...
So the donors themselves, like, we communicated with them in the beginning. They weren't sure how they would feel knowing children had been born.
Oh, okay.
These are their genetic children. So to know that they always wanted life for them. That's what they intended for. And they did a great thing, like a super selfless thing in donating them to allow them the life that they were intended to have. But they just didn't know if there would be any like parental feelings or feelings of, like loss, like they've lost a child, or,
or
they
if
weren't
you guys were crap parents. I mean,
Yeah.
you're raising their kid. I mean, you're not. Thankfully, you're not at all.
I mean, someday, no.
We all have our days. Elliot decided to pee all over the whole bathroom tonight, and that was not a proud dad moment. So I get it.
We had one of those nights. What?
Last night.
Was it last night? Anyways. So we actually, once the embryos were safe and sound in Indiana, because they were created in Georgia. So they had to actually like FedEx ship them to Indiana.
Cryo tank.
Yeah. In a cryo tank. So once they were safe and sound here, like all communication with the donor family kind of stopped. And it wasn't until, maybe a year later.
We had communication with the other recipient.
Yeah.
Because we weren't the only.
We didn't really talk about that either. Oh. It's a crazy story. We could go on and on. The embryo donors, they had 16 embryos remaining to donate. So that was 16. Quite a few. So they were actually able to split them between two other families besides us. So Elias and Eden actually have, I wrote it down because it's hard to, 5 genetic siblings, and 1 actually on the way.
Oh, wow.
And that's between the donors' children and then the 2 other recipient families that are like ourselves. So yeah, it was at a point where maybe a year after the children were born, we got back in touch with them. And from there, we meet once a year in person, and we talk between them on Messenger. And it's kind of just this extended family cousin like relationship. We all are really close, like we're really good friends. And we're so fortunate for them, and we enjoy the time we get to spend together. The kids all love playing together. It's really funny because they all resemble each other, right? Because they're
right. They're kids.
Siblings.
Well, they're siblings. Yeah.
I remember the first time we met one of the recipient families in person. We went to a restaurant, and the host actually asked us, like, if Elias and Eden and their child were triplets, because they're only 3 months apart. And so they essentially, like, in a way, they kind of are triplets. They were born 3 months apart, but they all look so similar. The lady thought they were triplets. So
that's funny.
So yeah, we have an ongoing, really awesome relationship with them. And, we don't refer to them as like their mom and dad. We're their mom and dad. But they're really special people that cared a lot about them to allow them to be ours. So, yeah.
And so just to make, this is more my curiosity's sake. So they are 100% yours. They were adopted embryos that you just happened to give birth to.
Yeah. Yep. And it's kind of one of the reasons that led us down the embryo adoption path and not traditional adoption, in that I would get to experience that pregnancy and the birth, and even getting to nurse these children, something I wouldn't have gotten to experience with traditional adoption. Also, just the fact of, like, I've birthed this child, so it's ours. Like, no birth parent could waiver. They couldn't come back and say, well,
like, Eden and Elias are yours, no questions asked.
Right. Yeah. So that was a super awesome thing that we got to do.
So let me ask you this. This was not one of the questions I sent you guys before. This is just me spitballing. Do you guys get a lot of weird conversations or reactions when people find out exactly how Eden and Elias are yours? Like, are people kind of like, it's just weird, we don't know what to do about this, or does it really just never come up?
I wouldn't say, I think people just don't quite understand, maybe. Like, I even had doctors who I would think would understand, like, what an embryo is. Like, lots of people refer to an embryo as an egg, but it's not. It's an egg and a sperm that are fertilized together. So, and even doctors who you would think would know that, like, don't understand that basic, like, anatomy. So I guess I would say lack of understanding. I think infertility in general is taboo. Like, it's not really talked about. Everybody thinks it should be like hush hush. But I think we should talk about it, and we should normalize it. I think especially in the church, I think there's a lot of people that are in the church that are probably struggling with it that we don't know are, because they're scared to talk about it. So yeah, that's just my
So
take.
let me ask, so for you guys as parents, as husband and wife who did struggle with infertility, how can we as the church come alongside other couples who are struggling with that and support them?
Sure. Just prayer. I would even go as far to say an infertility support group. That's a big thing. If you're struggling, I would say get involved with one of those. I think we as the church should probably be better about facilitating those. I was lucky enough to find one at an area church, and that was really helpful. So I would say those things, just prayer, and not asking those questions of, well, when are you going to start your family, and when are you going to have children? Like, that's pretty common. And I don't think hurt is meant by that. People just, like I said, they don't understand until you've walked the path. You really don't get it. And I don't think those questions are, like, ill meant. But just kind of to be conscious of that and think about that, because you don't know if that person might not be able to conceive, and that's their heart's desire, but they can't have it.
So let me ask, if there's someone here who's listening to this conversation and they're struggling with infertility, would you be okay if they reached out to you guys to have that support and that?
Totally. Yeah. I have an email address that you could email me at even.
Oh, cool.
Or if you're interested in embryo adoption in general, there's a page you can go to for info on that. And then, yeah, if we're a person that you see or know personally, yeah, just talk to us. We're here.
And we'll put some of that here. Oh, not in the show notes. I'm so used to podcasting. We'll put it like in the Facebook video, YouTube video description too,
Sure.
of what we need to do too.
Yeah.
But before I let you guys go, is there anything else you guys think that we need to know about embryo adoption, infertility, your guys' story?
I think I talked a lot. Do you have anything, Aaron? I told them that when we did this, he had to talk.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So he talked a little bit, though, I guess.
He talks a lot when you're not around, Sarah. I don't know what's up.
She's just got so much more information on it that I can't remember at this point.
I mean, it's just my thing. I'm the planner, and I kind of I just went with it, it felt right. And God fulfilled our promise and gave it to us. And I'm so grateful. And yeah.
No, that's cool. But before we go, anything you want to say, Aaron? I don't want to turn off until you got all your words out, bro.
Also, if you have questions about HVAC, you can come to us.
Okay.
About HVAC. Okay, yeah. If you need help with HVAC, call Aaron Taylor. He'll hook you up. He did all my stuff, and it's wonderful. So other than that, guys, I appreciate you guys sitting down with me tonight and just talking through this. I know it's late. Kids are in bed, and you guys normally just enjoy the evening together. So thanks for sharing your guys' story, and I hope it was able to bless it blessed me. I always love hearing about it. So I hope it at least blesses somebody else too.
I'm glad. Thank you for having us.
Awesome. You guys bet. So if you guys are here till the end part of this conversation, we have a few more coming out. We got one with Amy Taylor with the women's ministry, Nicole Haubold with the kids ministry, and also Roger Oakley with the outreach ministry. We have those 3 conversations coming down the pike as well. But at least until next time, we'll see you guys later. And Aaron and Sarah, thank you guys again.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.